Hello, Twitch. It's good to see you again. We have Tommy G and Remy in the chat room. We've got Floating is Life, Grifting Jess. Bestest username, you're not lying, that's a damn fine Twitch name. We've got Chungus, Normal Chungus, and Tactical Hat. I like the sound of that Zevia when you give it a crack. Boom, ba-zee-doo-da-doom-dwa. Zweedoo, 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 zwai. Zwiddly, 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 doo-dai. Dabby-dooby-doo-doo, zwabba-doo-dee-dee-ba-doo-bum-boo-dee-bum-boo-dee-bee.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha's here. I like that. I like the intro. It was, you pared it down a little bit. I like that. I think people know we're here, and you've been listening.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, you turned on the radio. We're here. We got limited time. Let's jump into some voicemail messages. If you want to leave us one, just get our app or call 1-844-TOMNDAN. That's Tom, the letter N, Dan. This guy. My music's back.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. Okay, here. I'm running a good radio show here.
Radio.
Hey, everyone. It's Jalen,
Jalen.
the resident musicman for the Semantics podcast. I just wanted to sort of jump on what the gentleman with the Breaking Benjamin voicemail was talking about. That's a very good idea. If you've got time and you're wanting to sit around and listen to some music that maybe you've not heard of, go back to some of those bands from the late 90s or the aughts or whatever that maybe you thought was a one-hit wonder because corporate radio effed out, their one song or whatever. Look for their newer albums. A lot of those bands have not gone anywhere. They're still around. They've got third, fourth, fifth albums. There's good music out there that maybe you just don't know is even there. Your Alien Ant Farms, your Jimmy's Chicken Shack, they've got a deeper catalog than you'd think. Go look at some of those, and don't sleep on that Breaking Benjamin Aurora album. There is some good stuff on there. Bye.
Nah, I don't know, Jalen.
Alien Ant Farm.
Alien Ant Farm's a really good band.
I think
I will stand behind them.
Oh, great band. Worst name in bands.
The only
Yeah, not a great name for the band.
Terrible name for a band. He wanted me to actually listen to Jimmy's Chicken Shack. So guess what I did? I went.
They're not
and
bad.
I looked up the latest album of Jimmy's Chicken Shack, and it is straight garbage.
Well, I haven't listened to the latest, but
I'll give you the latest.
I knew some of their old stuff.
the only
I like the old stuff. Look, it's got a.
But they need to hang it up at the Chicken Shack.
I think they need to close the shack.
the only Alien Ant Farm song I know
Is
is
the
a,
Michael
is
Jackson
a Michael
song.
Jackson
Criminal.
song. Yeah.
That's a shame. You don't know movies?
Movies?
Yeah.
How does that go?
Hold on, now I gotta do that.
I don't. And
And
are you
just
okay?
like
Are you okay?
the movies.
And then they're dancing on the
Yeah, but
sidewalk.
I can't get past the name. I'm sorry. I'm 43 years old. I can't even listen to Alien Ant Farm. It's dumb. It's a dumb name. Change your name
They're
and
a
I'll
really
listen
good
to
band.
you. Where's the movie? Okay, here's movies. Smooth Criminal, by the way, has 150 million more streams. There
Well,
you
of
go.
course, yeah.
Then their biggest hit, which is this. Oh, yeah, I remember this.
oh,
It's
yeah,
a good
yeah.
album.
Yeah, it is. It's
Death
a good
Day,
album.
it's a good one.
We all seen.
It's like being in my wife's car. I can't do this. All
Oh,
she
great bass
listens,
lines in that song.
All she listens to is old.
Yeah, you knew it. You knew the song.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
he knows.
Did you play it on bass or
Here,
something?
do it again. Yeah! A little Tommy
Bassman.
Bass finger. It's smoking Tommy fingers.
I think this is also in the rotation of working overnights at Home Depot.
Yeah.
I think this is around the same time.
Yeah, this is overnights at Old Navy, overnights at Target.
Alien Ant Farm and the.
Oh, we have
whatever it
a suggestion in the Twitch chat room, twitch.tv/TomandDanLive. Somebody mentioned
Space Hog?
Space Hog. I can get down on some Space Hog.
Do they have any new stuff though? I don't think so.
I thought they did. Hold on.
Wasn't he like married to Liv Tyler or something?
Yes, he was married to Liv Tyler.
A band like Alien Ant Farm today.
2013, so better than Jimmy's Chicken Shack. They stopped at like 2008. Went back, listened to that. That's straight garbage.
That's not new though. I don't consider that new.
But he said sorta new. Sorta new.
7-8 years ago.
I mean, this song.
It's a great song.
And this is another good bass line in
yeah,
this song.
you're right. He plays the bass too,
Yeah.
which is hard to do.
Oh, it's so good.
Bass and singing.
Here we go.
Oh, it's a music day. I'm into it.
This makes me want to get my bass out. You remember this song?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
You
great
gotta,
tune.
you gotta sing with us, Tom. Ready?
What year did this come out?
This would have been. Let me get to the album here. 1995.
Yes.
Oh, 95.
90s.
Yeah, this is about as 90 as you can get. It's a bullseye in the center of the decade. Oh, that's a great tune,
It is
man.
a good tune.
That's a great tune. That tune holds up because it doesn't. It wasn't a super trendy song. And what I mean by that is it didn't borrow from the trends of the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of just a rock and roll tune.
Your wife just showed up in the chat. She's like, I heard 90s music. I've been summoned.
Oh yeah, of course. She's the ghost of 90s. All things 90s.
I was in middle school in 95.
You play anything 90s and she just appears. Do it in the
elementary
morning.
school.
Do it in the morning. She'll be taking a shower. She'll just appear in your room nude.
So, Alien Ant Farm, Samantha, see if
They were
there's-
just here, I want to
Yeah,
say.
They were?
last year.
Last year, yeah.
I
Because
missed
Samantha and I
it. I was
debated
bummed.
going to see Alien Ant Farm.
So this brings up a question. Obviously, they had their heyday in what?
Early 2000s?
Early
Yeah.
2000s. And a lot of bands are like this. Like they gained nationwide or worldwide popularity through a couple of the hits.
Yeah.
And then are able to continue touring based on now everybody knows your name off those hits. So, but my question is, Nat, where were they at? What venue? Like House of Blues?
God.
No, I think they were at the
it was a
Plaza.
small- I think
Plaza?
it was the Plaza.
I think it was the Plaza.
Okay.
Which
So-
is small to medium.
So you're still touring around based on popularity from these hits that you have.
Yeah.
So
Well, here's the other thing. Like, these bands had fans before that one Smooth
Yeah.
Criminal hit the radio, so they'd probably still be touring.
yeah, I'm just saying they have like a nationwide notoriety. Like if I know them and know their name, then that means you've saturated into the depths of
Yeah.
people that don't even listen to music, which is me. Like,
Yeah, but you wouldn't go to their shows.
no, I wouldn't, but I know their
But
name.
I don't think you know Alien Ant Farm because of movies. I think
No.
you know Alien Ant Farm because Smooth Criminal was played on the radio, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is an ironic, weird Michael Jackson cover. Who did this? And they're like, Alien Ant Farm.
Yeah, but I've also heard that their other song movies.
Yeah, movies played on the radio a bit.
Oh, tons.
So my question is, if you're a guitarist from Alien Ant Farm or whatever, just like not like the lead singer or whatever, how much money are you making now touring around in a modest tour? You're hitting like plaza-sized venues are
Am
decent.
I getting royalty checks at all?
I don't know. Let's just say no.
I would assume so.
What do you think? 65, 70,000?
So you're making about that, right?
$75,000, you know? When it's all said and done, if you get
I don't know.
some
I think-
publishing rights and then you get some writing credit and then you
yeah.
play a show, and then how much does Alien Ant Farm do you think? Because we've dabbled in this. We've hired bands before.
Yeah.
What do they play Plaza? $8,000, $10,000?
Well,
Because Sugar Ray was what? Do we remember?
well, here's the thing: they're just getting ticket sales. They're not getting paid one lump sum to play. You see what I'm saying? Like,
well, are they? I don't know. I don't know what their deal is.
yeah,
well-
everyone's different.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Some of them don't get any ticket sale money. It's just merch.
if it's Hullabaloo,
Oof.
Yeah.
they're just like they're just commissioning Sugar Ray to come in. They're getting paid one flat fee, and then Hullabaloo is selling tickets or whatever.
Sure.
For the Plaza, I imagine you got a promoter. They book the Plaza. They make out some deal based on ticket sales to the band or whatever. I'm just curious of like what these guys are actually pulling in a year based on this many years later, 10 years later, off of like these mega hits or whatever.
right.
Like, can you make
I found Alien
a
Ant
decent
Farm.
living?
I found their minimum fee.
Yeah.
Well, that's based on someone hiring them. I'm like those tours; they're getting paid primarily off of ticket sales, and then there's a merch aspect of it and that kind of thing. You bring your merch guy with you; they sell that. What are they making?
I wouldn't even be surprised if they sold their own merch.
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest.
What I'm saying, they bring their own employee to sell their own merch.
Sometimes it's just them
Yeah.
at the stand, or like their brother, like one of their dad or their brothers.
Yeah. I mean,
And they just get paid off tips.
I'm his brother, Jonathan Ant Farm, and would you like to buy a T-shirt? There's duct tape on them. Sorry, I wrote small on and medium large on a Sharpie marker.
But is Daniel right in the like $75,000 range?
Depends on the band. It depends on
It also depends on how much you want to work, right? I mean,
yeah.
And
I'm
what
just
venues you play.
touring's hard.
Yeah, touring
especially
is hard.
as you get older. That's a young man's game.
yeah.
That's why I always
100%.
try and buy merch when I go to shows,
I do too.
because that's where they make the bulk
But then
of
I
their
feel
money.
bad because I'll buy merch from a band that I support, and then like their T-shirts are like $5. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, you throw some extra in
Hey,
there.
you could have gone 10. It's still a.
I hate when it's a band I love and I want to support them, but all their merch sucks. Like, come on,
I hate
Citizen,
that.
get it together.
But
All
that-
your shirts are horrible.
But then I love it when a band that I love has merch that's not only awesome, but it's super cheap. Like that Bad Religion hat I got that's like puff. It's got printing underneath it, and it was $15. I'm like, for
Wow.
this hat, it's a fitted hat. It's a flex.
crazy.
Yeah, it's a flex fit. I was like, that's insane. They must buy an S ton of them.
Yeah.
Because
To sell
they're,
'em that
well,
way,
they're also
yeah.
Bad Religion.
I took a sip of
You okay?
You all right?
I thought you were having a heart attack out of the corner of my
I felt
eye, and
like-
I was going to ignore it and just let you die.
You ever taken a sip of carbonated something
Yes.
and then I didn't let it fizz out or
You gotta
whatever.
let it fizz.
It went down like a glass ball. And I was like, "Ah!" And I felt it. And then when it hit my chest, I was like, it's the end.
Clip it. We gotta get out of
Yeah.
here. We're out of time.
right.
Oh
Got
man, I thought that was gonna be the best ending of a show ever. He's like, yeah, heart attack. We'll see you Monday.
Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha, our producers here. Hello, Sam.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Rocking the original Tom and Dan hoodie. There's no
Oh, yeah.
holes in that yet.
Oh, yeah. It's falling apart.
Oh wow.
Oh, the wrists
We
are
might
barely hanging on.
We'll have to get. What size is that? I have a new one at
I
the
don't know.
house.
I think it's a medium, but
okay.
it's giant.
I might have to get you a new one. and
I
put-
like it. It's cozy.
We can frame that one like they do in Hard Rock Live. Like what you do with like stuff like. Why'd you laugh? We got all kinds of stuff framed around here.
I know. It was a framing old hoodie.
You don't like
Bunch of
anything
junk.
fun.
What, is that fun?
Yeah, framing hoodies is what I do, son. I don't know. It's you have something to get off your chest here. Is this where you quit the show?
No. On the line with us from my Kramer Law Firm. We haven't talked to this gentleman in a while
been a
because
minute.
of everything going on. Friendly Ray Trindley is on Skype with us. What's going on, Ray?
Just living the dream. How you guys doing?
Good.
He's wearing. I don't know if if you're on Twitch, twitch.tv/Tom and Dan Live. If you're on YouTube, wow, you are buff.
You are buff.
Holy buff! Friendly Ray Trindley's got a Tom and Dan a corporate time shirt on.
Gonna bust through that shirt.
Yeah, looking
It's
good.
an extra small, so don't
Yeah.
give me too much credit.
No, you look good. You got some guns. Not so friendly. You guys want to have a pose off? You and
No,
Friendly Ray? Why don't you guys oil up and let's get this moving?
Let's do it.
I am laughing because
Ray's down.
I started thinking. You're at the office, right, Ray?
I am.
I was like, what if we told Ray, like, hey, climb through the drop ceiling to Kramer's office?
Oh man,
And then,
that's a great idea. I don't have a lot in savings right now because I'm hemorrhaging it, but I will give what I have left to you rather than my family, Ray. If you'll do
Oh, I
that.
appreciate that.
20,000 bells.
I like
Yeah.
every week we have Ray do a different prank
To
to
bully
Kramer,
Kramer.
and it involves climbing through the drop ceiling.
Yes,
And you
in
know,
tactical gear.
and then we drop certain things using fishing string. And,
Oh yeah.
and
Drop a wig down. Drop a hot dog on a string down.
one of
Nothing would be funnier than Steven's on a Zoom consultation for a woman who's, wrongful death lawsuit. And and a hot dog at a string comes out of the ceiling right in front of his face.
Chicago dog.
Oh, yeah, with everything just dripping all over his
Absolutely.
Macintosh. Yeah.
Like 15 years ago, when I used to be an intern in the old office at the radio station, because I, did nothing mostly during the day, I would develop a series of
Complicated tricks.
traps through the drop ceiling of the office, and one was
This is fantastic.
where Dirty Jim used to sit, Jim Colbert, at his desk. I moved the.
Well, you wouldn't do this to Jim Colbert. This is only something you would do to Dirty Jim. You understand?
I moved the drop ceiling out, and then I ran a fishing line and a wig, in a pulley system, all the way over to my desk where I used to edit the best of through mini discs. Which, by the way, this was 2005. They had the technology. That's how,
we were full MP3s then, but not at the radio station.
How cheap Clear Channel is. So
Use everything until it breaks.
I would use mini discs and have to push this button, like old antiquated 1980s technology. But anyway, I would sit there. So I ran the fishing line. So when he sat down at his computer, I let out the slack and threw the pulleys, and a wig came down. And just,
now, the best was when it
hovered above
Tom,
his head as he's angrily typing an email. We laughed and laughed.
Right, here's the thing about Tom. And
Took
I think
me 8.5 hours.
I think you know this. Tom has impeccable comedic timing. Your novice prank player would lay that wig on the bald man's head. No. It has to hover.
yeah. So everybody sees
it. If it hovers over the head, you get the enjoyment of it all day.
Yeah.
When Jimmy would get up, he'd take it up to the drop ceiling again. Jimmy never saw it. When Jimmy would sit back down, he would go back down and hover. It was it's right behind or maybe neck and neck with when we set the, to the host we were working for at the time, we set the answering machine on his phone to be a joke hotline for cats and dogs. It's right there.
And I think it went on for 7.5 years.
7.5 years. So how have you been doing? How's the family, and what have you been doing to pass time, Ray?
I've been working. Fortunately, this has been something good for my business as an attorney.
Sure.
Between people ready to wring each other's necks, being stuck in quarantine with each other, they want to file for divorce. Everybody knows they need to prepare an estate plan, but now estate planning is at the top of everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And that's obviously something we do a lot of. And so, fortunately, business has been good and we've been busy. The hardest part is just making sure that everybody in the office is safe and protected. And so we've transitioned, this was way back in March, to a virtual workplace. I come here because I've got 3 little brats at home that I love dearly, but I can't get any work done when they're around.
Yeah.
And so, I've been doing that. And then my wife's going a little crazy because she's a teacher. And obviously she was looking forward to staying home with the kids, but now she's stuck home with the kids. And
it's a big difference when you have to execute some things. And it's just it's a bit of a mess. But
I saw Max on Zoom this morning. His VPK teacher did a little Cat in the Hat reading to all the kids.
Yeah.
And so there's a screen with her and the Cat in the Hat, and then probably I would say 9 different kids, 10 different kids, including Max. They're all sitting, all screaming at the time.
Yeah, of course.
Then the hungover dad in the background with his Ron John's tank top, chugging Metamucil, and then he's like, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
And you see all these parents just wandering around the house,
and he's like, "I just got an email. Qdoba forload me."
And then my God, this lady's a saint because she's keeping her cool and just reading the
she
story.
muted them, by the way. That's how she keeps her cool.
Okay.
You gotta mute them all.
Yeah. Everybody.
That is the key.
Yeah, every kid.
That's a good shirt. You take you put the zoom on the center of the shirt and it says "mute them all. Let God figure it out." Dude, I'm telling you right now, that's a funny shirt. Put that on the Orlando. What is it? The Orlando the website for the shirts. It helps out this businesses.
3 Cat in the Hats can
Orlando
keep a
merch.
secret if 2 are dead.
Yeah, all right, that's good.
It's all.
Yeah, that's good. All
It's a-
quarantine teacher shirts.
It's all Hell's Angel references,
But for teachers.
for Cat in the Hat.
Yeah.
They go over really good with the preschool teachers.
Yeah.
We're the 99 minus 99%. What is that 1%?
So, Ray, we got a couple questions for you. I know you've got some questions from the past. What do you want to start out with? Here's the thing. We didn't give you any, heads up with any of the questions we asked for the people watching on Twitch gave us. Do you want to go over some that you got?
Yeah, I mean, I can go over some late breaking stories. I tried to obviously tie things into what everybody's dealing with right now with
Sure.
COVID-19 and the coronavirus pandemic. But I'm happy to kind of take whatever questions you guys have come up with and see what I can do to help answer them out too. I'll let you guys decide.
Let's start with what you got, and also I'll mention.
I know what that means. We're not prepared.
I saw a meme or some sort of retweet
I saw a
or
tiger.
screen capture of a tweet. And it said people in Florida call it with all this S going on. They don't mention, they don't say like COVID-19 or coronavirus.
COVID-19.
And actually,
blow.
I actually related to that. I rarely relate to memes, but I do say with all this S going on, that's how I mention the COVID-19 or
Yeah.
coronavirus. I call it this S.
I
going
say
on.
dumb S.
Yeah. But
I've heard the vid. Instead of COVID, I've just heard the vid.
That sounds like HIV or something, though.
you're trying to be too cool.
Yeah, vid is like
I can't get away
HIV.
with
I
that.
don't like it.
Yeah.
So
I call it the lung gonorrhea.
what do you
It
got,
affects
Ray?
your whole body. That's where it gets you though.
Yeah. Well, but really, who needs your lungs?
So go ahead and start, Ray.
All right, so the first thing I have is, what we're seeing a lot of right now is federal lawsuits against the SBA, which is a Small Business Administration, and the federal government, as it relates to these economic injury disaster loans. The PPP is one of the ones a lot of people are talking about.
Yeah.
And so, what's interesting is, one, a global pandemic going on. Congress is throwing together this bill to fund this disaster relief fund, and they didn't really put a lot of criteria in the law itself, and so it's a poorly drafted law. But what it basically came down to is they're selling it to the American people as, hey, if you've got a small business, we're going to make this money available to you, and there's a $10,000 immediate economic relief, and that's supposed to go to you within 3 days, and if you're a qualifying small business. And then there's obviously the PPP plan, which is supposed to cover 8 weeks of payroll. And so what ended up happening, and I think you've probably seen some of this stuff on the news, is some publicly traded companies applied for these loans and were able to get those loans for millions of dollars. Some well-known communities have been able to get them. And so what you're seeing is these people who were saying, hey, we were promised $10,000 or whatever it was from the Small Business Administration. And, these were misrepresentations. And not only were they misrepresentations, but, the Small Business Administration didn't carry out their end of the bargain. Now, the key thing here is the SBA is only dealing with these $10,000, immediate relief funds. They outsourced to local banks the PPP loans. And so, using, SBA type criteria. So what we're seeing though is these lawsuits that are being filed against the SBA for, inappropriately applying these loans and for going through these loans. And frankly, the way I look at it is the reason why SBA outsourced these loans in the first place to, banks was because they didn't have the capacity to manage these massive loan requests because, millions of small businesses were applying for these loans. And so, that's something we're seeing a lot of right now. And, Tom, I'm sure you're familiar with Fisher Island down in South Florida.
Yeah.
When the news broke that they got a $2 million loan, I mean, people were going crazy.
I bet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm surprised.
The big one here was the Ruth's Chris deal.
Yeah.
Like that's the big one that I heard, and that was because whenever you get a name like Fish Island, Ruth's Chris, stuff that's known, and you hear something like that without even investigating what the actual facts are. Because obviously that's important, but people immediately want to get mad.
Oh yeah, you're like Ruth Chris. They sell expensive steak.
Burn them down! It's like whoa, slow down. Let's figure this out.
Mr. Chris doesn't need an extra million. Here's the thing, Ray, and you know more than all of us, and I don't know nothing, obviously. But I know a buddy of mine. He is a GM for like a sports bar.
Ooh, yummy.
And there's a couple sports bar locations down south. And he got the small business protection loan, and he explained it to me. He's like, well, we can only use it to pay our employees, which has been great because we didn't have to furlough them. We're able to continue their salary and have them make a living, which helps them, obviously, and then helps them stay off on unemployment and the whole system.
Sure.
So basically, the government's giving us money to disperse amongst our own employees.
So you don't have to furlough them.
Yeah, so then we know that they're our employees, and it's easier for us to do it rather than them file for unemployment. And that made sense to me. I was like, all right, great. And
I get it.
It's not for us to use to like redo our stores or to put in the owner's pockets. It's only to give to our employees. And if we don't do that, then it'll be represented in our all our taxes next year, and we'd have to pay whatever back that we didn't pay our employees or whatever.
Correct. Yeah.
And then that made sense to me. I was like, okay, great. So it's not like, you look at this sports bar franchise and you're like, oh, there's like 5 locations. The owner's pretty rich. He doesn't, well, it's to give the money to the employees who aren't working because the business is shut down. But I'm not sure if all the loans are like that, but that particular loan made sense to me. Then, you got the people that are like, oh, it's free money, just grab it. And then, of course, everybody's getting mad. But I'm like, this is the same society that you put out a bowl of candy for Halloween on your front porch, and you're like, please take one.
Yeah.
And then the first person dumps out the whole bowl, and then we're surprised that you put out this loan and like free money.
Well,
and
I would also hate
only
to
take
think,
it if you need it.
I would also hate to think that our government does what I do at Halloween, which is to put out an empty bowl with a sign that says, please take one, and let everyone assume that the candy's already been taken.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate scam. Yes, I have done that.
So, but yeah, and then also, you have this unprecedented event that every single person is affected by in the entire country, which nobody's ever seen before. So now you're trying to help every small business in the entire country. Like, this is insane. And and then you expect the government to be well organized and prepared.
No.
And
Never.
What do you know about our government that makes you believe that they're going to get this right in a short period of time? It sucks for a lot of people, but to me, it's like, well, what did you expect? This is insane. The situation is insane, and the government isn't prepared for this.
Well, I don't think that I hope I didn't suggest that I think they did anything wrong. I don't think that they did based off of what I know. I think really where you're going to see some additional scrutiny is the banks themselves that are, maybe not giving it to small businesses on a first come, first served basis, but instead saying, hey, you're our biggest client. We're going to hook you up first. I think that's where you'll see some additional scrutiny.
Yeah. Sounds a lot like what they wanted to do with the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, and of course, guess what? These institutions are run by people, and people are flawed.
Mistake crazemo.
Yeah, and then also, guess what? People do what's best for them when it comes down to it.
There's an element of selfishness there, correct.
And then if you have the opportunity to help out someone that's going to help you out more, then, it's like, things are going to be skewed and are not going to be fair, and it's a mess, which sucks for a lot of people. But I can understand why a lot of people are mad, and then the outrage of some of this. And of course, if you're doing something that's immoral, it should be called out. It's a mess.
And to your point, I'm not sure if the restaurant you're referring to with the franchises, if it's a popular wing joint down south, but I think the way a lot of places are looking at it, though, is the right way, which is the way the law was written was if you use it for payroll purposes, they're going to forgive a certain portion of that. And there's a cap on that, right? So if you're paying your executive $500,000 a year for salary, that portion's not going to be forgiven, right? So they reduce the amount of money forgiven by how much more it goes above 500,000 or 100,000, excuse me, I believe is the number. And so, I'm happy to hear that, specifically in the restaurant industry, that's what's going on because, I don't really worry about, lawyers and some tech business and stuff like that because even though things may slow down, we'll still get through this. It's the restaurants and the shops that, sell things that are basically shut down because they can't have people come into their storefronts. I mean, those are the industries I'm concerned about. And so I think that's a fantastic thing to hear is that, some restaurants are really trying to take care of their people instead of laying them off and letting them go to unemployment.
Well, I know you can't see me right now, Ray, but I want to let you know we let everybody off here. Mm-hmm. We fired Butler. Yeah. We fired Samantha. We didn't even furlough. We just you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
We have to look out for ourselves.
And then you require to come into the office anyway.
Yes.
For free, though, right?
Well, no. They're still under contract. They're just not making any money. I don't know if you remember this, but you're the one that wrote their contracts, and it is ironclad. They are not getting out of
me out, Ray.
Yeah, she's got to work until she dies for no money.
And then we're like,
I'm
wow.
fairly certain that's not in the contract.
Now that we're not paying them, we got so much extra money. Let's pay ourselves more.
Well, you didn't put it in there, but Kramer always wants to look over everything, and he put it in there. And his evil long hair now was whipping in the winds while he did it.
He's not doing the quarantine haircuts.
No.
He's letting it grow, right?
He'll let it grow.
Yeah, we're talking to him next week.
He's going to go full law vampire. I love it. I'm letting mine go, too. You can't see mine, but I got a little over the ears. I'm running 1970s Starsky and Hutch style.
Well, if the state doesn't reopen, the governor's supposed to announce the plan to reopen here, I think today.
Yeah.
If it doesn't reopen, I'm thinking about opening up my own barber shop. So I'm getting pretty good at the quarantine haircuts. Not to give myself too much credit, but I'm pretty good at it.
See, just like Daniel, his anxiety level, like he's had this superpower where he's not affected as much as the rest of us.
I'm not.
Because he always runs.
I feel pretty much the same.
5,000 RPMs.
I'm on a 10. If you're on a 10 all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
If every minute of the day you feel like you're being chased by Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I've always
he's at max anxiety. There can't go any higher. So we all come up to him and we're like, why aren't you higher? And you're like, I'm already maxed.
Yeah, I'm a 10, and you guys have always been running on a 1 too, right? You came up to 10. Guess what that does to me? Knocks me down to a 9.5. I'm all right.
Yeah. Just like that.
I was talking to a client the other day, and he was super stressed out. This was about 2 weeks ago. He was super stressed out because his pot dealer wasn't willing to meet him at a Starbucks parking lot, and so he was on 10 that day. I spoke with him, and so. I imagine that's probably also part of the problem right now.
Well, pot dealer, it's illegal at the store.
Go to the dispensary.
Listen,
have this guy call me. I'll bring him some pot. I got all the pot.
Don't say it.
Oh.
Anyway, I don't know.
This is my attorney, and nobody's listened to the radio.
Still meeting at the parking lot? I did that for years.
Yeah, Butler still does that too. He can't get enough. He does medical and street.
Now I go to a waiting room. It's very awesome.
I have a teen girl put it in a little bag that makes me look like I just left a candy shop.
It's great.
It's hilarious.
Get on board, people. Anyway, all right, Ray, I'm going to hit you with a question from our Twitch chat room.
Awesome.
And I've never heard this before, but someone asked that can they have any claim or lawsuit against their neighbor whose sprinklers are spraying their AC unit, like when their sprinklers turn on, it rotates to their AC
You
unit,
got to dial that back.
wetting it and causing some mold and some problems on their AC unit, and then they want their neighbor to pay because they believe it's from the water damage from
So
their sprinkler.
The consistent wetness of the sprinklers, like overspraying to the air conditioning unit.
Yeah. Especially for like houses that are closer together, like you've seen in a lot of communities that are like townhouse communities. I mean, there's maybe 10 foot between you and your neighbor. So of course, their sprinklers are going to overspray onto your property. I've heard about trees, like neighbors' trees falling, and if it's an act of God, they may not be responsible. But if they're negligent, like not cutting a dead tree down.
This is a very good question,
But
I feel like.
sprinklers, I've never heard of like water from one property touching your property and affecting it.
I used to hate it. I'll give you a very small, well, you know how crazy I am about my car.
Yeah,
Ray knows this from spending time
hard
with us.
water. Yeah.
I used to hate it when I'd get my car washed and then I'd go park, and this is before I had a garage. I was living in an apartment.
Yeah.
And my neighbor's sprinklers with the hard water would spray the car, and then it'd get baked into the paint, and then I'd have to do all the work again. So I understand, but this to me is a much bigger problem because the water is actually, you don't want things to just sit wet all the time, especially metal things. I would imagine that's a very bad thing to happen.
So, is there anything they could do, or any claim, or
break all the sprinklers?
Yeah, I mean, I immediately go with Dan's idea. Take a sledgehammer, just start whacking the sprinkler.
See, I'm an attorney.
Take it out.
Ray,
No,
renegade attorney.
Yeah, he is. I like Ray's style.
I like every answer is take a sledgehammer.
It starts with that. Step one.
Always.
Step one is always, he may not always use it,
Yeah.
but step one is always, are you near a sledgehammer? And then the answer should be yes, because you got to have your friendly Ray Trindley emergency sledgehammer at the ready. The other thing you're going to need is an AR. You need one of those.
Whoa. Now it's escalating. Escalating.
We brought it, we ratcheted it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I just said, do you have one?
No comment. So, to address the question, I'm going to hit it in a couple different points. The first point, which I think is maybe kind of what Tom was getting to, which is, we have a long established case law and statutory law on what our definition of trespass is in the state of Florida. And so, conceptually, the idea is if you were to put an invisible line on your property line, from the ground up to, the sky, that's your property. And anytime somebody crosses over in that property line, there's a potential for a trespass. And so, there's obviously limitations, right? So airplanes fly over your house, probably not a trespass, right? But we have this idea that we don't want neighbors entering our property without our permission. And so I think we start with that. And so, I would probably, from a practical standpoint, go talk to the neighbor and say, hey, listen, your sprinkler does a 360. I would like it to only do a 180, so that way it's not hitting my AC unit. These are the problems I'm having.
Wait a minute, Ray. Are you saying communication is the first step?
With proper social distancing. Make sure you stay at least 6 feet away from them.
Do you mean a reasonable face-to-face conversation with a human might actually work?
Doesn't have to be face-to-face. We got Zoom, Skype, FaceTime.
Or call them.
Yeah, you could call. I don't have a phone.
You're saying
I don't have a home
immediately go to lawsuit?
I want to immediately go to the police. I want to go to you, the police.
911.
Yeah, you call 911.
My guess, police is probably going to say there's not much they can do about it. It's going to be a civil issue. And then, what I think a judge is going to want to see you do is take some reasonable actions here to try to mitigate the damages, right? So, the first thing I kind of squinted at when Tom was reading the question was, I don't understand how there's mold on the AC unit. So, normally you've got an inside unit, and then you got an outside unit. The outside unit's a fan, and it's kind of got some shielding to it. But normally, at least this is my idea, would be as long as the sun is present, that and the sprinklers aren't running 24/7, that water would probably evaporate, and there wouldn't be any mold. That's a little weird to me.
Yeah.
Unless there's tree cover, in which case, it's been a while since I've installed an AC unit, but
So you're an AC unit mold shamer is what you are.
I'm not necessarily saying that, but I think that the manufacturer specs do say to make sure that it's not under any kind of overgrowth or anything like that, to eliminate things falling into the fan and stuff. And so I think there might be some other things to do, but kind of simply saying maybe putting up a partition. Let's say that partition is and I'll just use plexiglass as an example, and it shields the AC unit from the sprinkler. Your neighbor probably has to pay for that. Probably doesn't have to pay for a brand new AC unit unless you didn't have the opportunity to discover this issue and it got to a point where your unit broke. But I'd say some kind of simple solution might be in play, and maybe talking to your neighbor about saying, hey, I want to put up a little wood fence around this. Are you okay with splitting the cost?
But you are responsible for what your sprinklers hit, technically, because it's your water, and you're not supposed to really spray your water onto something else.
Yeah, because if you think about it, let's think about it in a different scenario, but same problem. Let's say that on my property, I'm an artist, and I go out and I have a painting area that's in my yard because I do big paintings. Can't do them inside, right? So,
big nudes.
I do big nude paintings of men outside, and then so the sprinklers are spraying in my painting area and getting my paintings wet, and that's how I make my money, right? So if you looked at it like from the standpoint of like you're impeding on my property when I'm
with your property, which is your water,
exactly
right.
Yeah.
All right,
and you're responsible for that. So like I said, I mean, I think there's a couple of steps. You're probably not wrong that the sprinkler shouldn't be hitting your unit, but try to have a conversation and see if you can meet halfway on it, because at the end of the day, it is your neighbor. You're going to have to see that person when you pull out of your driveway in the morning.
Can I just say something weird in a Spanish accent?
Please.
Your sprinklers are on my unit, and I got the PPP.
And Ray,
I just wanted to say PPP. I just wanted to say PPP. Sorry.
I got one more quick question because I know that we're running out of time a little bit, but it's an HOA question, and I've always been fascinated with what within the legal realms an HOA can do.
Put a lien on your house, bro.
Because it's pretty interesting, because I think when people go and move into a place that's governed by an HOA, they probably never read the contract they sign or all they
did.
And so they're not aware of all that an HOA can do. So this was a question.
We laughed at ours because ours is like, it's insane.
And this person's HOA has told everybody in their community that no kids under the age of 18 can use the community pool because of COVID-19 and their concerns with that. So I think basically they banned kids because they don't want the kids. Harder to have kids social distance or whatever because they don't really understand, especially young kids are running around.
My daughter washes her hands and immediately sticks them back in her mouth.
So this,
I'm like, oh, that's good job.
Well, I do that too.
And so this person was asking, can the HOA delineate those rules? And my opinion would be, I think they can do whatever they want, and that was what the agreement you signed in on when you first moved in. But is that true? What can the HOA just change the rules as they see fit?
Dan, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, being the resident lawyer of the show, I think you get your sledgehammer and
smash the pool.
I think you got to break that pool. You got to smash it to pieces.
Yeah.
You got to break it from the side and keep throwing the rocks in there until it's just a water and rock filled mess.
Yeah,
like a wreath or reef.
Hey, what about you, Sam? What do you think?
I have a feeling, just because I've been learning more about HOAs, I have a feeling they can do whatever the hell they want. So that's what I'm going with. I don't think it's right, but I think that they probably can get away with it, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think for the most part, you contract away a lot of your ability to overrule the association. And so kind of here's how associations were formed. We kind of came together and said, we've got these loose-knit rules for cities. but we might want to form our own community that has additional amenities, additional services. And a lot of that times it's swimming pools, right? Community pools. It's tennis courts, basketball courts, security guard gates, things like that. And so, these associations were created because the residents living inside those communities, they wanted a group way to pay for these things. And so what ended up happening is developers said, well, we've got this great idea. Let's plan this development unit. We're going to put 100 units in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a community document that's going to say everybody who buys a home in this community is going to abide by these rules. So that way there's no voting in. There's no, trying to negotiate these contracts on the back end.
Sure.
That's kind of where these associations were created. So, even before your house was built in some places, these associations were created. And so a lot of times in those association documents, and I can't say every single one, my association, I was on the board probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Nerd!
I sold my soul,
They've asked me to be on the board because I have 2. I have one for the community and one for the townhomes, and they've asked me to be on the townhome board, and I want to do it so bad, but I don't have the time, A, and B, Andrea says I'm a fool if I do it and a nerd.
Well, it's hard to not abuse your power, too, It's kind of nice just to be a resident. But so anyway, so a lot of times these documents are old, and so we redid ours. Ours were from the 60s. I don't want to really go through the stuff. It's public record that was in our documents from the 60s, but stuff that would shock you just from, where we're at today. And the people that were, the president and vice president never even read these documents. They had no idea what was in them. And so where they derive a lot of their power and control is from the fact that people just really don't know what the association can and can't say or what they can and can't do. So now taking it to these facts here, the problem that the listener is dealing with is, they're marginalizing people under 18. So one, these are people who have no voting rights in the association or, in the community. They're not a protected class, right? So, generally protected classes are going to be like gender or race, religion, things like that. So, 16-year-old kids are not a protected class, so we can treat them differently. And then, in the wake of, the COVID-19 pandemic, I think what I'm at least telling people is what I think the courts are going to come down to is a reasonable, standard, which is, normally there's a balance between what the government or what government entities can tell you to do and what they can't tell you to do. And it's based off of what kind of concerns do they deal with. And so, when they deal with like freedom of religion, we have a really high burden for the government to interfere. Whereas something like your driver's license, it's a very low burden. Well, driver's license is a little different anyway because it's a privilege, but it's different standards of burdens. And so my guess is that the courts are going to adopt a reasonable standard. So let's say you decide you want to file a lawsuit against your association, say that they are, using this power that they don't have contractually. I think if the court looks at it and says, hey, you know what, it's reasonable to take 18-year-old and younger kids and say you're not allowed at the pool because they put things in their mouth or they pee in the pool and, whatever, the courts are going to come down and say that there's really no liability there. And that's kind of what I've been telling people with a lot of these things about, changes that have been made, whether it's in the workplace, with taking people's temperatures or requiring face masks. Is, the courts are probably going to just employ this reasonable standard. And if it can be seen as reasonable, it's probably going to be fine.
Okay.
Because it's unprecedented and
they just shut our pool down. They're just like, no one's allowed, which I think is fair.
Our pool shut down too.
Yeah, I think that's what you do.
Well,
I think you blanket statement it so you don't have to deal with these arguments.
Yeah, the listeners that asked this question, they did close the pool to everyone. Like a month or so ago, and just recently they've reopened it for everyone that's over 18.
Yeah.
So that's, mean,
another part of that, could be, and I'm just, talking as I'm thinking through it. It might be just risk identification too, right? So, you can assume the risk as an adult, right?
Right.
So
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
yeah. So when Dan decides he wants to get real heavy into mixed martial arts,
Yes.
and he decides to get in the ring,
You know me so well.
he gets knocked out. He's
Yeah.
an adult, right? He can make that decision, and he's got the capacity to do that. Kids, we don't really give that power to.
Right.
And so, absent having guardians go around and sign assumption of risk authorizations and approving of this potential danger that might exist at the pool area, they may have just made this blanket decision to say, you know what, if you don't have capacity or you haven't reached age of majority and you can't necessarily assume these risks, we don't want you here because we don't want you suing us and saying, you didn't have the ability to assume this risk.
Yeah.
So, it could be a liability thing, and that's another example of lawyers trying to complicate things.
And by the way, all you fools with associations, I got an association. It's a upside down Homer bucket with a Ed Hardy hat on it, and he lets me do whatever I want, including park my gigantic boat in my front yard, which I'm 100% convinced that it's ruining the sale of my neighbor's house because I'm watching.
Oh, man,
I'm getting
you're
it
a
out
bad
in a
neighbor.
week. I need to park
A
it
week
so I
is too
can
long.
get it prepared to take it over. Anyway,
Open America now.
I'm watching people go look at my neighbor's house to buy, and then they look at my monstrosity of a boat
They're
parked
like,
in
wait
my.
a minute, is that that one wheel guy from YouTube?
And then I
That dad fails?
and then I watch the wife clutch her purse and run to her car. And I'm like, they'll never buy now. I'm sorry.
So here's what I'm going to say. I think I've got a great solution for you. Again, conversation. You could use FaceTime, Skype, or Zoom, and talk to your neighbor and say, here's what we're going to do to make a happy medium. Whoever buys your house, I'll get them one free trip, one free boat ride. Social distancing will be in play. And that way it's a selling point. You just put a sign that says, anybody who buys my neighbor's house, I'll give them one free boat ride.
It's it's some flipper from Miami. He don't give a damn.
Yeah, he don't give a damn. He just wants to say beep beep beep.
All right, Ray.
Forget that.
Thanks for Skyping in today. And,
OneFirmForLife.com. If you have legal needs, they're doing Zoom and Skype and FaceTime, and they'll take care of you. And they are practicing all social distancing protocols.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And yeah, man, I guess we'll see you next month.
See you next month, and take care, guys, and stay safe.
All right,
Yeah.
you too, man. It's good talking to you. We'll talk to you soon.
See you, Ray.
Likewise.
Later. That is friendly Ray Trindley from the Kramer Law Firm. We do have to take a break. We're way late.
Yep.
We'll be back with more corporate time right after this.
Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. We got very, very little time because we had on Ray Trindley for at least this hour. Let's jump into, oh man, I don't want to do that one. Let's do this one.
Hey, this message I'm watching or listening to the Friday Free Show where you guys are talking about the bus drivers. I graduated high school in 2012, and this actually happened on our bus. Someone they were acting up, started a fight and everything, and they actually just pulled us up at the school, didn't let us off the bus, and just waited for the resource officer to come and pick us all up and take us to the office, take statements, and then those kids got in-school suspension. Yep, that's it. Have a good one. Bye.
That must be protocol. That's exactly what they would do. They would turn around, go back to the school, but they wouldn't park in the bus loop. They'd park in the other loop that's in front of the office administration.
Yeah.
Then the resource officer would come over and do exactly that. I still remember our resource officer. You remember the story of me throwing the pink lemonade out the sunroof. That was who I had to meet with.
I want this BDM to call in, and I have to go back and check to see what they said. But they put a story on the BDM page talking about some bus incident when they were in school, which is like probably the 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
And they said they had this bus driver who was a bigger lady, and then some bully kid that was like mouthing off in the back. And so the kid wouldn't stop talking, whatever, and then the bus driver's yelling back and forth, whatever. She finally pulls over and gets out of her driver's seat.
Okay.
Runs back there.
Runs.
Right? I mean, he said that in the story, he said that she was at least 250 or whatever. Starts hitting the kid like They
said full on fist
They
fight.
said full fist fight. The kid pulls her pants down like, during the fight.
Which is a good move.
That is a great move.
Her shorts
You know
got
she
pulled
had
down.
on elastic shorts.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
easy
yeah.
to pull down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, bigger people, it's comfort.
And
You guys have on elastic shorts.
and then
Bigger people, comfort.
Yeah. And then he said he pulled her shorts down. Her grundies were showing.
Oh,
but
grundies.
She never stopped hammer
you can't.
fisting the
You
kid
can't.
until
all you're gonna see is hair down there. So just I'm gonna keep hammering.
until the kid started crying and saying like I give up or whatever. Then
Good for her.
she pulled her pants back
Back up like a
She'd
lady.
be in jail right now if that
Oh,
happened.
yeah, of
But
course.
I'm just saying
But
that's great.
It made me laugh and laugh. I just thought that was so funny. But you're right. It could never happen. It should be definitely fired. But she said that that none of the kids said anything, and then I guess the bully, I think there was
learned a very, very valuable
Yeah.
lesson that day.
there was a time period, like I feel
And
like
that man,
the
Dr. Fauci.
70s, 80s, where if you are a POS kid, most likely you had POS parents, and they weren't going to do, like if you went back to
Well,
be
they
like,
didn't care enough to do anything.
the bus driver beat me up and like, what'd you do? Like, like, and then
I knew.
and then good, you deserve
good.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I knew kids whose parents is like, I got in a fight with, blah 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 today, and he punched me in the face. Good, you deserve that. You're probably smarting off and acting like you act with me. It like parents like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember parents like that.
How do you nowadays? How do you not know your kid? Like, I feel like
Kids will act differently at school.
no.
You're
no,
also never going to be able to. I've asked this question to Andrea before. You will never understand not knowing your kid because you don't have what not knowing your kid. There's a certain
you're
link.
right. Yeah.
Well, it's a certain disconnect. It's not a
It's,
link.
it's like me trying to
Explain my anxiety. You
or-
can't do it.
Yeah, or like put myself in minority shoes and
Can't
say
do
like,
it.
I don't racism. I don't see it. Of course,
you
I'm
can't-
a
yeah,
white
you're not
dude.
black. Yeah, you
So,
can't do it.
So I'm like, how do you not know your
It's
kid?
an impossibility.
Of course, I don't know because I know my son. So like, if you don't, I don't know.
But you can see it. You can see the parents that don't have the link. Like you have the link. There's no way in hell.
Yeah, some people aren't that close with their kids.
Yeah, they're just not. There's no way in hell that you're not gonna know what Tommy and Max did today and every day until you expire.
Well, he doesn't know because his kids don't tell him.
No. But he'll talk to his wife. I'm just saying he's active. There's no way for you to not be active.
So then, what I don't understand is you don't know your kid. You know you don't know your kid, but then you
Defend them.
You
Yeah.
adamantly defend their actions and be like,
Because it's a reflection on you.
My
and you
kid-
know it.
Wait,
And
wait.
that might be a sprinkling of guilt. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of things you can throw. Then you got the bigger mental problem is that there's something else in their life that they didn't settle, and then they have a kid, and mess.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I did.
Then the yarn ball just unravels.
Because I did get the same, and I think we were talking about on a BDM show, like bus driver stories or whatever. But I did get a email from a person like Samantha's right. Like you can't do anything nowadays because the parents go crazy, and then like there's so many rules. And
My
stuff.
mom used to hate that.
And,
when my mom retired, when did she retire? Like 5 years ago, I think.
I feel like it's been more than that. But
Probably like 5 or 6. But I know we were all doing this.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't that you couldn't do. It wasn't that you couldn't do anything. It was almost more like.
More of a hassle to do something, right?
Yeah, it was almost like the teachers used to have more power. Some of that's been either pulled away or the
they used to allow
influence.
spanking at my elementary school.
Yeah,
At my elementary school, they had a paddle. Sure,
Yeah.
I mean those days are long gone.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of, and I'm not saying that that's right. I actually don't think that schools should be allowed to do that. But there's certain things where it's like a lot of the teachers and bus drivers feel powerless.
Yeah. Because it's gotten so tight, and there's so many outraged parents that
Right.
don't believe their kids are POS, and then defend them till they're,
I
blue in the
realize,
face.
but I realize
Crazy.
and it's just the parenting side of things. I realized last night that I have the power, and I've never fully used this before. And we have to take a break, but just real quick, Maisie was just playing around. I told her to settle down, and she's a spicy kid. She likes to be active, and she was just doing a dance and like kicking, and she's kicking high, and I'm just sitting there reading. Actually, I was reading an email that you were sending about wanting to put a specific segment in the ACT Best of, and I'm scrolling through, and I get and she just kicks my phone, and my phone flies out of my hand,
Oof.
and I look over at her, and I just gave the look. I didn't say a word.
Right.
And she started crying. And she ran up to her room. I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh, my God, I have the power.
You got
have it
the
now.
look power.
I have it now. I have the look.
Yeah, you got control over your household.
I got the
my,
look.
My son's literally.
Well,
I'm
they have the look with you.
I'm in front of them. They're like, hey, listen to me. No, they won't. Oh, what? I give up. Just immediately give up. Like, whatever. You're on your own now.
Fine. And then they
If
give
you
you
don't
the
need
look.
me, my credit card's on the shelf.
No.
Let's take a break. We'll come back with more Corporate Time with Tom and Dan right after this.
Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
We on the line with us right now, and I watched this gentleman. I was actually impressed last Wednesday when Jeff did his, he did a Zoom show, a music show. I literally,
what are the odds that you and I would both pop in there?
yeah.
And you were with your sons, and
Yeah.
I was with my daughter, and we were letting our sons and your sons, my daughter, witness one of Orlando's greatest
treasures. And my sons were done with it about 38 seconds in and took off.
Yeah.
But me and my wife, we held steady.
I have Maisie powered through 46 seconds.
And we did have some technical difficulty earlier getting Jeff on. We tried with
But as
Zoom.
you can see, is the picture quality. He looks like he's in an old town Wild West photo.
I've never.
Do I?
Yeah, you're in black and white.
Yeah, we're seeing you black
They
and
told
white.
me it was a crap. I got it on eBay. They told me it was a color camera.
Jeff apologized profusely, but he's like, I'm sorry, I can't. And I'm like, don't worry. One time I taught my pop how to play Spider Solitaire, and so I'm used to it.
On a gateway computer. When he'd beer 30, you'd have one Bud Light.
Holy crap.
Although Jeff knows more about technology than I
He
do.
does. He's
so I
really
can't-
good at it, actually, which is why this is surprising. But hey, everybody, it's our good friend. We love this man. It's Jeff Howell. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, Daniel. Hey, drunkie. Tom.
Yeah,
and Sam. I'm sorry.
Get him.
I got an old camera. I'm going back to old radio. So
That's fine. Now, Jeff, let's talk about what you've been doing on Wednesdays, because
It's really good, man. Really, really good.
you're running out of time. Yeah.
No, we got nothing but time. But I was
Are you
actually,
sure?
I was
Yeah.
actually being serious. It's really good, man. In fact, your
Oh, thank you.
your visual aspect and your sound quality, and I'm picky about this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You
man.
are
Thank you.
you are one of the best that I've seen that do the live music, because he had the full accompaniment setup. He had the
Yeah.
reverb, everything in tune, sounded great. I'll tell you this: Paul Stanley didn't do that. You know,
Really?
you've got these $1 million musicians that live in mansions that don't even set up a web mic. You know, they just play
Is
in
he
front.
local?
Yeah, I know, right? No, he is a millionaire LA old man with
okay.
his poofy helmet fro.
And so then I'm watching Jeff, and then all of a sudden he busts out the gigantic harmonica.
Yes.
And
He had the jokes.
I'm like, he's doing it! He's doing it! I'm
It was-
so
Now,
happy.
Did he have pants on for his performance?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. I think he did
Yeah.
have pants on then, but he did for this particular call do the no pants boxer gag,
yeah.
which
Oh, sorry.
which we
I
did.
didn't want to freak everybody. There we go. Okay, real quick. There we go.
Yeah. Which
You know, I just realized, this is kind of funny, that since I'm on the phone with you guys, I don't even need this microphone anymore. So I can just move this over here.
yeah.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah, you don't need that.
And
Sorry.
but let's talk about what you've been doing on Wednesday, and let's talk about how you were there. In the chat, it was like, use the virtual tip jar to tip you, and I was trying to find it.
I was trying to do it too.
and I couldn't find it, and I'm like, oh no!
so you logged out.
Yeah.
So
Damn it.
let's talk about Wednesdays. So when did you start this, Jeff?
I started, this will be my fourth one.
Okay.
When everything went down, you know, the Corona thing and everything shut down, all the bars and the restaurants, you know, I knew that I had to do this, but I've been wanting to do it for years. You know, I've been wanting to do something for my living room, kind of a poor man's Daryl Hall thing. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but this kind of forced me to do it. So within a week, I had to learn, how to get online, how to get my sound in, how to get everything synced. Because you well know that you do video and audio, and all of a sudden your video's like lagging behind like a half a second or a whole second.
Yes.
And so you got to tweak all that. So I had to try to learn all that. So I just started doing it from my desk here because I wanted to be sure I had it right before I brought my son Casey in. And it's a blast. And I was amazed at the amount of people that showed up and they participate every week, and it's really, really fun. I mean, I'm having a blast, and people are very sweet in their comments. And, of course, I got to do Sweet Caroline every week. And I set the Guinness Book of World Records for Jeff Hughes Sucks in a row, 1,200, right down
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
True story.
And so how do people find it, Jeff, if they want to watch you? Is it every Wednesday night at a specific time?
Yeah, it's every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on Facebook, and you go to Jeff Howell Music. Just search Jeff Howell Music on Facebook, and when you get Jeff Howell Music, you just scroll down till you see the live window. It'll show a little black and white window of me setting up, and it'll say live in the corner. You just click on that window, and then the window comes up full. And if you can't hear sound, then click on the speaker icon at the bottom if it has an X on it, and it should work. I mean, better than my crap today.
Yeah. No, it worked perfect.
Man, it worked fine. We were just having an issue, with you being able to hear us. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
That was me. Yeah, I'm sure it's on my end. So.
And this is what I did when you were doing this the last Wednesday. I just I put it on my big screen TV and we just watched it because you can
and the
screen
quality
share.
is really good. And again, your sound, as far as other musicians, I'm not trying to throw shade, but I'm just saying deliberately, you sounded great.
Yeah.
Really,
Thank
really,
you, man.
really
I
well done,
appreciate
man.
that. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I really am, and I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot of originals, but I'm doing my shtick, and I'm doing, but I'm trying not to do Brown Eyed Girl every week, and throw in some different stuff for the people.
I mean, obviously, this is weird for everybody, and normally, when you come in here, we're so happy to be able to have you obviously come into the studio, and then we all cut up, and it's almost like we fall back into the way we used to do on the morning show. But like,
right.
For you, is it at all? I mean, do you think that all those years that you did radio and improvisation and character voices and all of that? I mean, when most musicians are a little out of, I guess, not having the skill of performing for no one. You kind of know that. I mean, radio is a weird thing in that you throw your voice or your music out there and you have no audience participation, you have no response. So, I mean, do you think that helps you?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. But if you followed my actual performing career out in bars and restaurants over the last 10 years, you would know that I'm very used to playing for no one.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I was saying it, I'm like, he will take this. I know he will because he's a pro, and that's why I love you and miss you, man. Is because I
love
know
you too, man.
I know you're gonna do that every single time. Hey, how are your folks? How's
Well, my mom's doing great.
Yeah,
She's in Baton Rouge, and she lives in a retirement condo community. It's a really, really nice one, and she's on the second floor. And the guy in charge is on top of it, and he has them locked down.
Good.
And she is safe. Yes, she is safe. They deliver the food once a day. It's like 3 meals once a day, but they don't give it to you. They put it by the door. You got to pick it up. She's just bored, because she can't have any company. She went from having us every week to having no company, So
yeah, and that's kind of my mom too. Like my mom's like, look, I'm fine. I got food. She always makes jokes about like it doesn't take much food when you get to be my age, because it's like my mom's joking about how the air conditioned set on 85. She weighs 85. It doesn't eat. It just sits there, pets her dog, and reads the Bible. But it's funny because she says it's driving me insane. I'm bored. I'm just like so bored.
Yeah. It's tough. I do feel for people, learning this stuff, and obviously I still have a ways to go, is like going to school for me. I mean, it's keeping my brain busy. I'm enjoying playing. My son's enjoying playing. But there are a lot of people out there that just got nothing to do, and it's tough, man. It's, I'm sure Netflix has gone through the roof of subscriptions.
Oh, sure.
And yeah,
but that kind of stuff doesn't fascinate me as much as like the stuff like what you're doing, like the the kind of the local Wednesday night one-off things have been really fun. And like Tom said, you can put it up on the TV, but another thing you can do is you can just kind of pop it up on your phone and put it in the kitchen while you're cooking or something. Whatever. Like I love doing that kind of stuff. But and I also I echo what you're saying about the learning aspect of this. It's forced a lot of us to either learn. Or, you know, if you're like Tom, it forces you to just not talk anymore. You just can't communicate because the world is now going to leave you behind. You'll be one of the ones that we consume.
It's actually forcing us into the future, and whether you want to do it or not. Now, like I said, I've got a long way to go, but I'm loving it. I'm loving every aspect of it. It's really fun. Are y'all using your mask? Are y'all masking?
Doing the thing.
Yeah, we do the thing. But I'll be honest with you. I don't know when. I mean, like I see people wearing it on their head. I see people wearing it in the car. Around your neck is very popular. I see people that wear them. I see people that don't wear them. Driving, I see on the motorcycle. I see off the motorcycle. I see both. Skateboarding, it's weird. I don't know if you're wild jogging or not wild jogging. I don't know what you're supposed to do.
Nobody knows. Now, Jeff, I do want to ask you about the virtual tip jar because I couldn't find it. How do we go about tipping you? Because I had a sweet 20 in my virtual hand.
I have a feeling that these virtual dollars have been elevated a touch.
Virtual dollars are not worth anything, right?
20 virtual dollars equal $1. Yeah, that's the
I don't even think PayPal lets you put cents behind it. You have to go dollars at least. Dollars.
But how do you do it?
How do you do it? Well, here's the deal. The first thing when I did it the first time, I wrote a whole description. It's Wednesdays with Jeffrey was the title, so that's up here. Then right below you put a description, and when I put a description, I put Wednesdays with Jeffrey and his son Casey, having jokes, having fun, invite your friends, blah, 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 and did that. And then I put the virtual tip jars, which is Venmo and PayPal and Cash App and whatever, the ones you got.
Okay.
And the problem is Facebook, because of space on your screen, they only give you this much to describe your thing. So I had Welcome to Wednesdays with Jeffrey, and all the tip jar stuff was buried under the comments that everybody was putting there.
Oh, yeah.
So now I don't even put Wednesdays with Jeffrey. I just put tip jar right here.
That's what you need.
But who doesn't know who the hell you are? Like if you're tuning in, chances are you know who Jeff Howell is and you want to be there.
It should be welcome to Tip Jar Jeff.
You should change your name.
I swear to God. Actually, here's the deal.
You should call it Wednesdays with Tippy.
I actually learned how to put a picture in the picture frame. So now I have a giant animated tip jar with arrows pointing to where you go. To where you go to the PayPal and listen, and I want to tell anybody that comes in, I'm doing okay. I'm not, there are a lot of people out there hurting, and there are a lot of people out there that are way worse off than me. But if you got it and you can spare a few, it certainly is appreciated. It certainly helps out. But I don't expect you to tip. Tom, I expect you to tip.
Yeah, well, he said he would. He said he has a sweet 20. You mean you're not out there like me? I've been hoarding rice, toilet paper, and small business loans. I have all of them. I have every single thing. I got it. I am rich. In fact, I wrapped my small business loans in toilet paper. That's how much I have.
To protect them.
To protect them. In case I have so much money.
So
it's great,
Jeff. The first time I was watching you play, I was really
ever.
Yeah,
this was the first time he ever saw you play.
I was like, who is this? So I'm watching, and then my eyes start wandering to the room you're in.
I'll get a wide shot for you.
And now people can't see it in our particular broadcast, but in the one that I was watching with you play, I was looking behind you, and there was this big Meemaw lamp.
Yes.
And from what looks like the 70s, like, you know,
It's awesome.
And then I was looking at your bookcase, and then I was looking at your Southwest motif, a skull, and
He's got a whole
the
Botanica
cowhead, the
collection
cowhead.
back
He's
there.
got a cow head. He's got a globe. Is that now? Hold on. Now I'm going to test my drumming knowledge. Is that
Yeah.
a harness for a marching drum back there?
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Look at you, man.
I know my drums.
Oh, there it is. God,
Yeah.
y'all can see that?
Yeah.
We can see everything.
I can also see the big red dogs hanging out. And let me just say
Sorry
that,
about that. Yeah, I
you're
know what you're
doing as
talking
good-
about there.
You're,
There we go.
You're
All right,
bigger
there it
than
is.
ever.
I'm
Wait-
gonna say I am impressed
I'll
that
just
he's not wearing like big baggy boxers.
No, he's got nice ass underwear.
Yeah.
My underwear today is shredded.
Well, these would be big baggy boxers, but I haven't bought underwear since '82.
literally the year I was born.
Yeah. In fact, you remember when basketball players had them all up in here?
Yeah, that's what I like.
Sam says she likes that.
I like the short shorts.
So,
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah.
Jeff, I did.
What?
We've been talking to a lot of stand-up comedians and stuff that have tried to do stuff virtually, and
Right.
they've had a real, like, some of them had a tough time. Some of them are adapting to it pretty quickly. Our friend Carmen
Yeah.
Morales has been doing it
Crushing it.
weekly, and some people are like, man, it's so
She has
weird.
Eddie Pipitone on this week.
Yeah.
But I
Can you
feel like
believe that?
with music, you have the luxury of you're performing and people are consuming it, and you don't have to, you're waiting for the laughter of a punchline, and there's
Right.
a certain give and go with comedy. But with music, I feel like you can end and and then go into the next song, and people can consume it this way.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Absolutely.
Do you think that this will be something that's has some sort of staying power in our society where people will get used to virtual shows, and like maybe on weekdays when, like Daniel said, you're cooking dinners, like, Jeff Howell's playing on Wednesday. Like,
Yeah.
you think this will be something you'll continue to do after, let's say, everything opens up and things kind of resume to back to normal?
No.
Back to you, Tom.
Well, here's the
No,
thing.
absolutely. No. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was like playing in your boxers and
pretty awesome.
virtual tip jar. You never have to leave. It's kind of an old
No,
man,
no.
I like it.
absolutely. I love this, actually. I mean, I absolutely love it. And I will tell you this. It is different because for doing comedy, small comedy, I've always considered myself a musician, not a comedian, but a musician that says funny stuff in between songs.
Yeah.
But doing the funny stuff, you kind of count on the laughter to kind of it sets your timing up.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing it with just the camera, it's really different. I'm sure your comedian, your stand-up comic friends are telling you, but I think it's the way of the future. And my son about 10 years ago, he said, I was telling him about this show, and he goes, Dad, I don't like those shows. And I said, why? And he goes, because they have canned laughter. And I said, really? He said, I can't get into it if it's got canned laughter. So he loved the shows, with Jason Bateman and Tommy, the skateboard guy. Anyway, the shows that were doing comedy, but they weren't doing laugh tracks. And all of a sudden, I became like him. I became a little bit of a comedy snob to where I hate the laugh tracks. So I think it's just a new way of going, and you have to adapt to doing comedy and just hoping like hell they're laughing.
Yeah.
And so I'm fine with it, and most of my jokes aren't really that great anyway.
All right, listen. When you busted out the gigantic harmonica,
we lost it.
Oh, I loved it. I was like, just
Still doing it.
And then I started trying to explain to my daughter about you dumping beer on a dog's ass and then making it do a flip. And then Andrea told me I'd had too much, and then I wasn't allowed to talk to my daughter anymore. And then Kramer Law Firm got involved. It was a mess.
I tell you what, if this thing, if it keeps building, because we're getting bigger crowds every week, and it's really nice, and people have been so fun. But if it gets up to a certain point, I'll do the double doggy sex trick.
Yeah.
And get it to video. Yeah. So everybody had, because back when I did it, nobody had camera phones, and I really would. Actually, I wish somebody would have recorded my show back then. so I would remember what happened because I don't remember.
I mean, you'd get up there and then the stage was just wet with just sweat and beer and it was awesome. It was so fun.
They had a Jamaican guy that would come in on Sundays after I played cricketers on a Friday night, and I was doing Rumplemans for a while. So I'd drink a shot, and then I'd throw it behind me, and then I'd do the doggy trick.
Yeah.
And you know how sticky Rumplemans is.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the glasses would break, and so the guy came in, and his name was Fitzroy. And I said, "Hey, Fitzroy, how you doing?" He goes, "Okay." I said, "Man, sorry about all the broken glass up there." He goes, "I don't mind the broken glass." He said, "It's the fruit flies that are killing me." That was an Irish accent. That's terrible. That's terrible.
It's the fruit flies that are killing me.
Jeff, so now that you're not playing gigs and stuff, like besides from these virtual shows, what have you been doing to pass the time, at the house? What have you got any new shows you've been watching?
Yeah, good question.
No.
I want to see you just sit and stare at a wall in silence for the majority of the day, and then just get up, walk out over your guitar, do an hour set, and then go back to bed.
Yeah, then a long pee-pee.
Oh, my God, you just reminded me. Oh, my God, I do have to tell you. I'm sorry, it's a little segue, but
please.
Of people just sitting there, I went to Walgreens yesterday and totally forgot my mask. I usually have it in my car, but I brought it in the house, and I totally forgot my mask on. Crap. But I had to get something, so I went in there, and there was a guy. You've seen those guys with scoliosis or some kind of where they're actually bent like 90 degrees?
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally bent over like this. You've seen those people.
Yeah.
Well, this guy was checking out in front of me, and he was so slow walking. So that by the time I checked out, he hadn't even made it to the door yet, and he had some bottles of water and things like that. So I asked him. I said, "Hey, can I help you?" And he goes, "That would be very kind of you. That would be very kind." And I went, "Okay." So I walked to his car, and there was a lady on the other side. I figured it was his wife. That's the same age. I mean, we're talking late 80s, 90s-year-old. And so I put this stuff. He goes, "That's very kind." He goes, he opens the door, and he goes, "How old do you think that woman is in there?" And I went, I can't do that. And he goes, "Just tell me, how old do you think she is?" I go, I can't. He goes, "How old?" And I went, 50. He goes, yeah, you're full of beans. You're full of beans. He goes, Agnes. And she's in the car. Like this. He goes, "Agnes." And she goes, "What?" He goes, "How old are you?" And she goes, 101. And then right back to sleep.
God damn.
Why are they out?
Yeah, they should not be out.
You should not be out.
Neither had masks. Oh, and then as I put this, I said, "Look, I got to go." He goes, "That was so kind of you. That was so kind of you." He goes, "You're a beautiful man." And I went, "Oh, well, bless you." And he goes, "Not the face. Not the face."
I guess once you're 101, I guess every day could be your last.
Is just out there. She's like, "Come on, light the fuse. Let's do this."
I've reached literally the 0.001% of total humanity.
Well, if you reach like 100, it's almost like, well, Corona.
That's it.
If you hear Corona's here, you're like, good. It's
well,
like,
everything's here.
I think they're actually driving around with their windows down trying to catch it.
I know,
they can get checked out.
This place is horrible. Well, we love you, man, and thanks so much for calling in and letting us chat with you and doing the video deal and everything.
You got it, guys. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate all the plugs, all the love, and I miss you guys so bad, man. So I'm
gonna share your video. We'll make sure and put it out there. So when you go live on Wednesdays, we'll put it on our social too. I'll make sure Tony does that for us, and we can get because I want to get as many people watching it as humanly possible. Get that tip jar moving.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, and it's. I know it's kind of hard. It's in the right-hand corner. Like you go up and there's a jar, and it's right there.
Tom doesn't know his left or right, so as long as he sees a jar, he'll be all right.
Yeah.
Hey, but no, I really love you guys, and sorry about my technical problems.
No worries,
but next time I'll get it fixed before we we jump on. But you guys are the best, and I love y'all.
Love you
All
too,
good,
man.
Jeff.
We'll talk to you soon, okay?
See you, dude.
You got it.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
guys.
That is our very, very, very good friend, Jeff Howell, and he is live via Skype and telephone. He was getting yeah, to spare you guys that a little bit. He pulled his D out.
He starts going to YouPorn. He's like,
Forgot he had the camera on.
"Look at there!"
We're like, stop that. He's got to squeeze the bass. I knew it.
A virtual tip jar. Then you become a cam
I'd
boy
tip
at that
for
point.
that.
Yeah.
I'd tip for that. Would you? Okay, let's talk about that.
What?
Would you go around to like if you're friends of yours, Samantha, Butler, me and Andrea, and friends of yours in the Orlando area, locally here, set up online, cam soda type deals. Would you be able to fight the temptation of going there and watching the live show?
No, well, will they know I'm watching? That's the problem. Like,
if you make your
Well,
chat
no,
room
right now.
name something that, like, if it's like Medium Tom or Mediocre Tom.
Because here's the problem. This has happened to me before and created awkward scenarios where I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I'm such a dumb old man. I'm making fun of Jeff. Jeff is light years ahead of me with technology.
He is. That's why today was surprising.
I'd have no idea how they even do that. Anyway, I scroll through Facebook. You know how people are broadcasting live, like something like a podcast or whatever? And there's so many podcasts now. A lot of people, they broadcast live, and there's not that many viewers in there or whatever because there's so many broadcasts going on. And I've accidentally hit the video, and I didn't know it was live. It looked like
because sometimes they do replays. I know what you mean. Yeah.
And so I hit it, and then it all of a sudden I'm in there, and then people say, they're like, "Hey, Tom," and I'm like, "God!"
Never click the video.
Because then I
you can't click it. You just got to enjoy it silently.
Because now
well, you can turn it up. Just don't click on the video.
I'm like one of two people in there. They're like, "Hey, Tom, how's it? Thanks for popping in." I'm like, "Damn it!" Because now I can't leave.
Yeah, because it'll pop up and say Tom Van is watching.
Yeah.
And then I feel, going back to my mental illness, I feel bad if I left and I made them feel bad that I'm not watching. So I'll just leave my phone on.
Yeah.
And just.
Well, it doesn't tell them when you stop watching.
Well, they know I'm out
The
of
numbers
the
will
group.
go
Yeah,
down,
the
but they don't know
numbers will
who.
go down,
They don't
yeah.
know who's.
Yeah, but there's only
okay,
one.
I did
I'm
this.
the only
Oh,
person.
you're the
in there.
only one.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Are you?
Eh,
I
it's
think
fine.
you and I may be doing the same thing.
I just leave it open.
I think we have the same patterns when we're using the bathroom or looking at our phone because I went in. There was another podcast here in town that was doing a live broadcast, and this is before all this started. And I popped in. And then I look up, and the counter at the top said 1. And then they're like, "Hey, everybody, Dan Dennis from the very popular podcast, A Mediocre Time, is joining us." And I'm like, OS.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
And I know if I leave, then they just introduced me, for Christ's sake. And the 1 goes
fine.
to 0.
Yeah, they were like, yeah.
And
So
then
you-
basically what I'm telling them, to finally agree with you on this type of thing,
Okay.
well, all I'm telling them is, I don't like your show.
If
So
you leave-
I feel it. I understand where you're coming from. In this particular instance, I'm 100% on board.
Yeah. So then I just leave it open playing. So
No.
they're like, they'll know, they'll think I'm watching and supporting, but really I've left a long time ago, walking around. And I think
That's insanity
when my
to me.
phone goes to sleep mode, I
dead.
think it goes off.
Meanwhile, I'm calling him like, the studio's on fire. He's over there letting the thing roll so Remy's podcast gets a one listen.
Anyway,
We got to take a break.
can't use technology.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come back with more A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan right after this.
Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. If you want to jump on the voicemail train, you can do so. There's 2 ways to do it. Download our app. All of our content's on there, totally free. And right now, I know a lot of you are out there looking for content. So all you got to do, just download the Mediocre app. Just search Tom and Dan or Mediocre Time with Tom and Dan. It'll pop right up. You can leave a message there using a feature called Mediocre Messages. All that I ask is make sure that you hold your thumb down when you're recording, because if you just tap it, all it's going to do is send me audio of you breathing. Pardon me. Just like one breath. I get a lot of like right before they talk.
Yeah.
The other way is a little bit easier if you're technically challenged or don't have a smartphone. 1-844-TOM, the letter NDAN. That's 1-844-TOM and Dan. All right, here we go. Okay, this is a big one. I've been saving this one all week.
Tom, this one's for you. So, wife got told by her friend that we can have their...
Okay, hold on a second. Before I go any further with this,
Uh.
because this voicemail is for you. Has he already done what he's doing, and those are the tools in the background? That's what it sounds like, doesn't it? What do you think he's working on?
What do you mean?
Can you tell by the tools that are jangling in the beginning of this email what he's working on?
Well, it's pretty hard.
Not for you, buddy. Not for you.
Oh,
Think
okay.
hard. I'm channeling it to you. Think hard.
Tom, this one's for you. So, wife got told by her friend that we can have their hot tub.
No.
Did you think of that?
I think the heating core is out on it. And so I'm wondering, it would make the wife super happy, probably would not get a Heroes,
BJ.
but I guess it's whatever, I'm used to it. Would it be worth getting it transported to my house, getting an electrician over,
Oh,
Desperate man.
and all that fun stuff? Let me know.
This is a desperate man. I mean, this guy wants some action so bad that he's willing to get the old broken heater coil. We're all familiar. You've had one. You've had one. I'm sure Butler's had one. I have not had one because I'm not a
trash person.
trash person.
So,
But I am in different ways.
the broken heater element or whatever.
You know a lot
in-
about this. This is your wheelhouse, buddy.
Yeah. So
Give this guy some guidance.
you're gonna have to do some research. Luckily, there's tons of information on the internet.
Now, why would you tell people to do research when you don't do research?
I know, but you know,
Do as he says, not as he does.
Yeah, you're right. It's the Tom Van Way.
you need to look at the model number and then see how hard it is to replace the element. Now,
Actually, I have seen you do this, so I can't say that you don't do research. I've actually seen you look up the modern model numbers of broken hot tubs.
Now, the problem is you don't necessarily know if that is, in fact, the problem, because what people end up doing, and they do this with all engines and every vehicle and whatever, when something's broke, they just make up some name of what they think it might be. Because, like, for instance,
Like you did with my lawnmower.
if you're yeah. I know this because I do it.
Wow, this guy, like, no one can ever say that this guy lies. He doesn't. He can't do it.
I lie to myself.
Well, that's the only person
most.
you're good at lying to. You can't do it to everybody else.
So if your like car doesn't start, you're like, must be the starter.
Alternator. Yeah, there's a million of them.
Or you just yell out a word you've heard people say before. Or whatever.
Solenoid.
Yeah. And so, but you don't know. You're not a mechanic. You have no idea.
You're exactly right.
So, and then when you try to give your broken garbage to someone, you tell them a specific reason because that gives that person the hope that they can fix it because they're like, oh, this guy knows exactly what's wrong. And especially if it's an easy fix, but you got to ask yourself, well, why aren't they fixing it? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Right.
If it's such an easy fix, if you know it's the heating element, and I looked online, and that's the part is $187, and it may take an electrician $300 to install it or whatever the hell it is. You're like, well, it's only $300 in repairs. Why?
But they keep stacking.
Yeah.
Grifton Jess, your female counterpart, checking in from the Twitch chat room, twitch.tv/Tom and Dan Live. She says, don't do it. And then immediately following that says, just kidding, absolutely do it.
Well, of course.
Yeah, because floating is life.
And there's another problem that a lot of people don't talk about is that a lot of these things, especially when it comes to the cheaper brands, they don't have any professional that will come to your house and work on them. Like the day and age of like the Maytag repairman and stuff is kind of done. And you know why it's done is because China killed it. And what I mean by that is it made so many things so inexpensive that there's no point in
I hate that.
sending a repairman to come to your house and fix it. They're just like, just buy a new one.
I hate that phrase. I hate the phrase, it's cheaper just to replace it.
Yeah.
I hate
But
that.
it's true.
But it is absolutely true, but I was never raised like that.
Yeah.
So even seeing that now, it hurt my heart when I had a 42-inch TV. It was like one of the first nice TVs that I bought, and it was a Sony, and I rode it out for a really long time, really nice. It was like a rear projector TV. I saved so much. I had to save for so long to get this nice-ass TV, right? And then when I got there, and I'd had it for so long, the guy that came to repair it was like, why are you repairing this? He said to my face, he's like, it'd be cheaper and better. You could get like a 52-inch for cheaper than it is for you to repair this antiquated
electronics.
I almost cried in front of him. I'm like, that because I remember what I paid for it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I'm at the same place with my my digital picture frame. It's like I still.
Did Andrea send you the new one that came out?
Yeah.
There's a new one now.
It's stuck in my mind. This thing cost $1,000, and
Is it broken?
Sort of.
The company went out of business, and then
no firmware updates, and you can't do anything to it.
So now,
You can't add photos?
Yeah, you can't add anything.
It's kind of bricked.
The app
works.
The company's no longer in business, so
But the photos you have uploaded.
Still play, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but if anything were to happen,
yeah. I mean, we're
then it's just a piece of glass in a frame that does
Yeah,
nothing.
it's trash. Yeah.
Then I'm gonna in a spectacular fashion blow it up.
You drive through it,
or
Take it to the sausage castle and blow it up.
Yeah, you could use the
yeah.
flamethrower on it. Yeah, missile launcher or something.
So something adjacent to this that is a little Tom Van advice for others that are bad at life. And I see this often on Facebook and people complaining about they start a project and then of course because they're in over their head, they have to call a professional to do the rest of the work.
Yep.
But let's say they got like the first half of it done and it took them 2 days, right? So then they call the professional, and to finish the project is, let's say, $800, and they're appalled by the price, right? Because they're like, $800, it's just a little bit needs to be done.
Yeah.
But what you're paying for is the person's time to even go out there to begin with, and so for any repair person or service, just to do the visit, to get working, like a painter or whatever, there's a baseline charge. And even if the painter only has 10 square foot of your outside of your house, he's going to have a baseline charge because to get there, to start up his equipment, to put the paint in,
Sure.
all that is going to be $500. So you were better off just paying that guy to start with, because just finishing the last 10 foot of your house is $500, and doing your whole house may have been $800. This is obviously way under, but what I'm saying is,
I know what you mean.
but in your mind, you're like, it's only 10 foot left, but you are paying for the person to come out and get everything started, and just to come out to your house to do work, that's going to be a baseline charge.
I always factor that. You have to.
So I've done this many a times. Better just to pay the professional if you know in your own heart that you're going to get to an area, you're going to have to call them to finish it anyway, start off with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And another piece of advice that people never think of is the demo factor of it or whatever. They're like, I'm going to do the demo myself because anybody could do this. Well, yeah, the professionals.
I've seen some people do it not right.
But the professionals, they don't charge that much for the demo because they're lackeys they hire for $10 an hour. They do the demo fast because, so
they also know their way around it.
So what's going to take you a day is, you're
inexperienced. You don't have the correct tools.
But not only that, you're probably only saving $50, and because that's what the professional pays their lackey to do because they do it fast. Because that lackey wants that oxy.
Well, they also want to get in there.
That's the truth.
They want to get in there working on the job quick too. They don't want to be waiting there for you to do the demo.
So when you put on your work gloves that you haven't touched in a while, and you get your old lady out there, you're sledgehammering your kitchen cabinets.
Yeah, you think you're Magnolia. What is it? The Magnolia Journal.
Because you think you're saving thousands of dollars. Guess what?
We're fixer-upper.
Some crack, he can do that in half an hour, and he can do it fast and efficiently, and you're only going to pay $30 extra. That's going to be the charge of the demo,
and you might break something.
And it took you and your old lady a complete day and a half to do what this guy can do in 30 minutes, and you save $30. So just ask yourself before you start any of this, how much would someone have to pay me to do it? Because that will tell you whether it's worth it to pay someone else. Because often I've found myself in situations where I've convinced myself that I'm going to do it myself to save money. And in the middle of it, I'm like, I would pay $1,000 for someone to do this because it's so miserable.
Right.
Now, that's absurd and ridiculous, and I probably wouldn't pay that much. But $100? 100%.
Chat room's agreeing with you, except for Norm, who
Took me
Norm
38
said,
years to learn this.
Norm said you should have listened to him and turned a 32-inch TV into a frame. So I don't know where you guys normally get along so
Yeah.
well. Pun
Norm,
intended.
I don't trust your ways anymore after I found out you play Animal Crossing. I thought you...
Oh, I thought he
I
hated
don't
it.
think he actually does.
No, I thought he hates it.
Well, I thought you said he was playing it, or was he joking?
he was joking.
He was joking.
okay.
He hates
All
Animal
right.
Crossing.
Okay.
He says F no.
Oh,
Team
okay.
Tom. All right. Oh, you guys are back in
there
love.
it is.
All right.
That's the racist Norm I know.
Oh my god.
Speaking of fan favorites, there's racist Norm. You can add him to the our team. What about
Please don't go.
what about Slopmouth Andy? Let's check in with him.
Hey guys, it's Canadian Josh. This message is actually for Manny Manny Wetmouth, just because I know he's listening.
Slopmouth Andy.
I have a theory about his
Manny
wet
Manny.
mouth, especially as it pertains to his possible body mass index. Manny Manny, next time you call in, can you just let everybody know what your height and weight is? Thanks, guys.
Too
I'll hang up and
far,
listen. Be in
Canadian
for
Josh. I'm not going to body shame Slopmouth.
Maybe Josh thinks that there's some correlation between someone's weight and the wetness of their mouth. Which
I don't think that's true because
I-
Big Tim Murphy is one of the largest men I know, and he's a very, very dry-mouthed individual.
Yeah.
He's a normal. He has a normal amount of moistness in his mouth.
That's true, but maybe bad living has caused a certain dehydration there or something.
Okay. Who's
I'm-
got the wettest mouth of the show here? I think it's you because you spit everywhere.
Yeah, you spit everywhere.
You're so close to being Slopmouth Tom.
Do you still spit that much after you get higher than Chong?
No, I get dry mouth, but
Okay.
I also
Driest eyes, wettest mouth.
This is the most I talk.
Write that down.
by-
That sounds like something Confucius would say.
When I get home, I barely talk. For the rest of the day,
Your wife tells a different story.
hold any sort of amount of talking you don't want to hear. But
She does. She says you won't shut up.
yeah, I know. Well,
The polar opposite stories that we get are hilarious.
but that's the way she feels. Really, if you guys saw how much I talked at home, you're like, he barely says anything. You
Yeah.
know? But
I think Butler's got the wettest mouth on the program.
No, I think he's got dry mouth.
yeah.
Only in the mornings, but that wears off because his eyes get real big during the day.
I
When he first comes in here, I'm like, oh, I didn't order Chinese food, sir.
I slam these
Racist Norm.
bubblies and Zevias and everything. Like I'm slamming things all day long. And it's
Crunching
just
the numbers.
they're available, so I can't stop myself. I just get it. I'm drinking it.
Yeah, you don't pee a lot either, though.
Yeah, my kidneys they don't work really well.
Oh, okay.
I got one Coca-Cola a day.
I loved him at home.
yeah. That's
One
ruining those good.
Coca-Cola?
One Coca-Cola.
Now, lately, you know what's funny is that like no matter what I drink, clear. No matter what.
That's good.
I don't think that's good though,
Yeah.
because the way that I think that like this is it's like something false. Because I keep waiting for the Coca-Cola.
No. The clearer, the better. That means it's the tubes are flush.
I don't like it when the doctor writes that on your notes. Because you can always tell. You look at all the numbers and you're like, I don't know what any of this means. You're like, oh, yellow. Oh, okay. I know what that means.
I never looked at the notes of my doctor.
Oh, okay. Then why even keep them? You might as well just throw them in the trash like a jury summons.
I didn't even know they were available. I've never even seen my doc. Like my old real man doctor has a laptop, and he doesn't even look up at me. He's just like, all right.
It's not even
how's it
real.
go?"
It's one of those
And
plastic ones
he's
from
like-
IKEA.
And I'm like, are you playing Minesweeper or whatever? And who knows what he's typing there? But I've never seen anything or any opinion or anything.
Here, let's just do one more, and then we'll get out of here. How about this one right here?
Hey guys, my name's Josh from Orlando, first time caller, been a BDM for a while, and I just want to know your guys' thoughts on how to go about, confronting people or letting them know that they're too close during social distancing. Just like if you got a guy breathing down your neck in the line behind you, what are you gonna do? Just ignore it or turn around and say something? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, I think you know the answer on Tom. I mean, Tom was just going to stand there and take the cough, right?
Oh yeah, never say anything.
But me, I'll turn around and be like, "You're too close to me!"
I saw BDM the other day.
No, I wouldn't say anything.
At Lowe's, and he's like, "Hey, Tom," and then I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's like, I was just listening to you," and he went up to shake my hand, and then
Come on, man.
just because like it's a
habit.
it's a natural instinct.
I almost
you
did
know?
it with this realtor I met out here, and we both had on masks.
And then
Weird.
I went to go shake his hand too, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, and then he's like, "Oh yeah." But if he, this is how badly mentally ill. If he would have been like, "Come on, P word," I would have done it.
Shake my hand.
I would have been champion of the shake his hand. I would have been 100%. That's
Probably
all.
would have made out with him just to prove a point.
I could be easily pure pressured into anything.
We should start doing Fear Factor.
If you pure pressure me at all or call me the P word, I'm like Marty McFly. I will do it, whatever it is. Like if you're like, "Don't be a wuss," I'll be like, "I'll do it."
That's not true, because we do it all the time in here, and I'm like, "You're a P word. Why don't you freestyle?" And you're like, "I'm not doing it."
That's true.
I don't take bullying from victims. I've already labeled you guys.
My God.
But when another bully comes in, I go, "I'm the
So we're
victim."
not dominant enough.
No, not at
Oh,
all.
you just wait.
So you-
Hell's a coming. It's gonna get real bad around
Wait,
here.
we always get in trouble for bullying Tom. So which is
Yeah,
it?
we do get in trouble for bullying you a lot. I bully you a lot, but I do a psychological mind game style bullying where it's like anything you say on the show, I crap all over it, and then the listeners love me.
That's fine. No problem. I'm just saying, if you try to shame me or pure pressure me into anything, I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll also enable you.
We got to get out of here. TomandDan.com for all things Tom and Dan. On behalf of myself and Tom and Sam and Butler, Seth Pepperoni and Big Tim Murphy, Ennis the Penis, Machete Gas Mask, Supergirl Jen, Remy, Joey, Cadillac Pat, the Miami Boys, Kramer, Cranny Beth, Tuttle, Slopmouth Andy, Snuffy Sniffy Snuff Nose, Cheesy Snuffy Wet Nose, Petey Posters, and Racist Norm. We bid you a wonderful Thursday, and we will see you tomorrow.